Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. I'm a dating and relationship expert. Today, I want to talk about red flags. I have an email from a woman who was in a relationship, and I'm going to go through it and point out all the red flags. And even though the email is from a woman, it doesn't mean that if you're a man that this won't help you either. So you got to listen too. But before I do that, I want to remind you to make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. And while you're at it, make sure you tap the bell icon so you'll be notified when a new video is up. All right, so here we go. She says, I'll start by saying I absolutely love your videos and have been binge watching them all week. I wish I'd found you 2 years ago. Yeah, everyone says that. Your no-nonsense, down-to-earth advice is just what I need to hear, and I'm quickly becoming a big fan. I'm feeling very much like a back burner bitch, as you would say, and I need some sense knocked into me. I forgot that I'd used that phrase years ago in a video. But nice to be reminded. I was going to call this video back burner bitch, but I decided against it. Okay. So she says, 2 years ago, I met this guy online, and he took me out to a nice dinner. Now, as soon as I saw the word nice in front of the word dinner, I knew that was something that was important to her, because if it wasn't, she would have just said, he took me out to dinner. But the fact that she used the word nice means that it's important to her. And as I read on, you'll understand why. It's not a red flag. I'm just saying I noticed that right away when she described it as nice. It's like, aha, I know what's going on, but you'll find out as you listen. Okay. She says, that first date, I didn't really think he was my type, and it's funny looking back now how obsessed we women can become with someone that meant so little to us on the first date. Well, I don't know about obsessed, but we can come to be attracted to someone that we weren't initially attracted to. Yes, let's not, not everyone becomes obsessed. We were both several months newly divorced, and there was your first mistake. Not necessarily a red flag, but if someone is newly divorced, they are not going to be ready for a relationship. And you probably weren't either, but whatever. If someone is newly divorced, they just want to be free, free to be. So leave them alone or be prepared for a casual relationship. I decided to go out with him on another date when he asked me to a hockey game, although I didn't really have much interest at the time. He started becoming more attractive to me that night. Gee, I wonder what happened at the hockey game. The more I got to know him, the more smitten I became. Yes, that's usually what happens. He stole my heart. Okay, no one can steal your heart. You decided that you were very interested. You became very interested, but no one can steal your heart. So let's stop using euphemisms that don't really tell the truth. When he left my favorite wine and flowers on Valentine's night on my doorstep that I found when I got home from working a long shift. So that started our 7-month-long dating relationship. He took me on nice dates. There's that word nice again. Invited me on an expensive fishing trip, and the sex with him was amazing every time. And that's what stops you from seeing the red flags, or at least doing something when you see them, when the sex is amazing. He and his ex-wife were financially well off, so these types of trips and dinners were just normal everyday life occurrences to them. I came from a poor family and never got to do any of these types of things. So for me, each date with him was a new amazing adventure. Right. So that's why when I noticed that she called it a nice dinner, I knew something was up. So this almost sounds like a season of The Bachelor. Because you're doing all these things that you've never done before. For you, they're new. And it's like, oh, we're going to a nice dinner. Oh my God, we're doing this, we're doing that. And of course, how can you not become attracted when you're doing all these things that you haven't done before and it's exciting and you actually called it an adventure? Moving right along, she says, I started to notice, though, that he would never take pictures of us together or post that he was out with me on social media, but he did with his other friends and other women that were his friends. It started to bother me. Yep. Of course. Why wouldn't it bother you? Red flag. Hello, red flag. If he won't post about you on social media without a great excuse, and if he is posting, or she, if you're going out with a woman, photos with other members of the opposite sex or same sex, if it's a same-sex relationship, then something is up. We never said that we loved each other, and he never called me his girlfriend. So another red flag. It's like 7 months he hasn't asked you to be his girl. Usually a guy is going to ask within 3 to 6 months because they don't want to lose you to someone else. And so if they're not asking, you got to ask yourself, why? I start to feel like he was using me. Well, if that's how you start to feel, then that's probably the truth. You got to follow your intuition. It's not going to lie. But most people don't, and they just think that they're making things up in their head, and you probably aren't. When I asked where our relationship was going, he asked why we had to label it and why couldn't we just enjoy each other. Typical answer of someone who does not want a relationship. Another red flag again if you're looking for a relationship. Let's just go with the flow. Who cares? Why do we have to label it? Shut up. I asked him if he would be bothered if I dated other people, and he said it was fine. He hoped I'd find someone since he wasn't ready for a relationship. Don't ask. Tell. Don't say, will it bother you? Of course it's not going to bother him if he doesn't want a relationship with you. In fact, you should have just said, you shouldn't have said anything, actually. And if a guy isn't trying to find out if you're seeing other people, then he's not interested in a relationship. It really crushed me, and the final blow was when I found him with his arm around another woman, supposedly a friend. I'm emphasizing friend. When I met him downtown to buy him a drink for his birthday. That to me would be, it's not really a red flag, but it's definitely a yellow flag when he's sitting there with his arm around another woman. After that, I deleted his number. I started no contact, even though I didn't even know it was a thing at the time. Since I was going back to school to start a new career, I was too busy to deal with dating. A few months went by, and I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. I decided to text back to figure out who it was. He finally sent me a picture, and I realized it was this guy. Of course, my heart leapt, and I was ecstatic. I stupidly decided to start texting him again and seeing him. After a few weeks, he disappeared, and again I was crushed. Gee, what a surprise. He would breadcrumb me here and there with a text or a picture, and I was stupid enough to take the bait every time. I finally unfriended him from social media, not even thinking he would care, and he texted me that day to say, oh, so we're not friends anymore? Well, that's because he didn't want to lose access to you. That's the only reason. It's not because he wanted to have a relationship. I didn't want to see his posts anymore since they were all of him with other women, although he always said they were just friends. Right. That's another red flag. If they are always posting pictures of members of the opposite sex and they're just friends. Okay. A few months ago, he texted me to tell me about a hunting trip that he was going on up north. My original plans had fallen through, and so he asked if I wanted to go with him. Of course, I foolishly jumped at the chance since I really wanted to go hunting and secretly was thrilled that I'd get to be alone with him on this trip. It was an amazing trip. We had a fabulous time, laughing, having fun, and great sex. I surely thought things were going in the right direction. Yeah. He texted me for a week or so after the trip, mostly pictures of him and his hunts. He then disappeared again. Gee, what a surprise. He dropped off deer meat at my house a few days before Christmas. He then texted me a little after New Year's, which turned into a booty call. I texted him at the end of January to tell him that I finally cooked up some of the deer meat from our hunt, and it was delicious, and he said something disrespectful about how I didn't get deer on the hunt, but got some dick. And I stopped responding. Thank God. You know, that's how someone who's only interested in sex talks to you. Because someone who respects you and who wants a relationship, they're not going to talk like that. So if you're wondering if you're going out with someone or if you're on a first date and you're wondering, are they just interested in sex? Well, if they say anything sexual, yes, that's the only thing they're looking for. Okay. The last text I received from him was on Saturday after Valentine's last month asking if I was going out, and I responded, well, it is Saturday night, isn't it? He then proceeded to tell me where he was downtown. I'm assuming he thought I'd jump at the chance to go meet him. Yes, he did. Since I've been such an idiot in doing that in the past. I didn't respond to that text. So you really need to stop calling yourself names, because you're calling yourself idiot and stupid and dumb and all that stuff. And it's not going to help matters, and it just lowers your self-esteem when you talk to yourself like that. And actually, it allows you to accept other people talking to you like that, because if you're already calling yourself names, then if someone else calls you a name, it's just another Wednesday afternoon, right? But if you don't talk to yourself like that and someone calls you a name, you're like, what? Excuse me? Who are you talking to? So don't do that. All right, at this point, I feel like he's been keeping me on the hook for 2 years, and I feel like the dumb horse that follows the carrot that's being dangled in front of it. Do you think if I continue with no contact that my value would increase in his eyes and I'd finally get off this merry-go-round of him breadcrumbing me and putting me on the back burner? I feel like if I was able to increase my value by being scarce, that we may be able to have an actual real relationship, or maybe it's too late and he will always just think of me as a booty call. I'm not sure if I will ever be valued by him as a real girlfriend because of the bad choices I've made and how I've devalued myself by being so available and acting like his little puppy dog. Thank you again, Lucia, for all you do and keeping us on the right path while dating. So, is it possible? Can you increase your value? Well, it's possible, but it's been 2 years, so it's not probable. If this had been a one-time thing or a two-time thing, but over 2 years, it's a pattern that you let him know that you were willing to do anything to be with him, that you were willing to just sleep with him without a commitment and be there for him whenever he popped up. So, you know, that's not how a high-value woman behaves. And I don't think the chances are very good. The only thing you can do is to even have a bit of a chance is you have to be in no contact for at least a year, because you need to erase that image of you in his mind, and possibly he will have grown by then, be a bit more mature, maybe even want a relationship. And also you will have shown him that you are able to ignore him for a year. And so he'll think that you're gone for good. And he might begin to wonder, gee, maybe I lost a good thing. So you absolutely need to stay away from him for at least a year. I mean, talk about no contact. I tell people do 60 days, and I'm telling you a year. But you know what? He's not an ex. He's someone who was using you, as you said. So those are my thoughts. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. So if you think that I'm telling her the right thing, that the only way she has a chance if she waits a year, let me know. Otherwise, if you have another idea of what she should do, put it in the comments below. And if you want help with your dating situation, if you're wondering if you're making bad choices like this woman, or if you're being used, then you can contact me at my website, theartoflove.net, and find out about my private coaching. If you are listening on iTunes, I would appreciate if you would rate and review the podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe and share. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.